When does a short story become a novella? And when does a novella become a novel? So, Red Rex Book 2 is set to come out in 2026. As part of the run-up to that, I've written a prequel story. You can get it for free by signing up for my newsletter. Link to the newsletter in my bio, you know the drill. The story is about 19,200 words. So, what is it? Going by word count, there are essentially 4 levels of stories. But before I go through them, I should let you know that these levels are mostly arbitrary. And there's no real consensus about where one level stops and the next one starts. But here they are. Level 1, the shortest, are the short stories. Typically, they're between 1,000 and 4,500 words. And according to some people, stories of less than 1,000 words are called flash fiction or microfiction, so there's that. Some would say that a short story can be as long as 15,000 words. Now, I mentioned earlier that most of these distinctions are arbitrary, but there is one distinction that I think actually matters. In order to be a short story, a typical reader should be able to read the entire thing in one sitting. If a typical reader could not reasonably do that, then it is not a short story. Level 2, the novelette. This is a story that you can't quite read in a single sitting, unless you're super motivated or super bored. Some would say a novelette can be as short as 7,500 words. So already you'll see the overlap with the short story, which some say can be as many as 15,000 words. Again, all these distinctions are kind of meaningless. The high-end limits of a novelette are usually somewhere around 17,500 words or up to 19,000 words. Level 3, the novella. A novella is essentially a fancy name for a short novel, in the same way that aioli is basically a fancy name for mayonnaise. Definitions of a novella vary wildly, both on the low end and on the high end. But getting a rough lay of the land, at a minimum, a novella is between 17,500 words and 20,000 words. On the high end, they can be up to somewhere between 35,000 words up to 40,000 words. Level 4, which would mean anything above 40,000 words, would be a novel. Alright, so now that we have these vague, inconsistent, arbitrary definitions in mind, let's go back to my story. Again, it's about 19,200 words, which means, depending on those vague definitions I just went through, it could be either a long novelette or a short novella. Which one should I go with? Whichever one sounds better, I guess? I don't know. Give me your opinion in the comments below. Is my 19,200 word story a novelette or a novella?